Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we're making a professional chiropractic connection with a Chiro couple out in Jersey, Katie and Michael Sarnoff. Can you guys both go back and forth and just introduce like yourselves and share a little bit about like why you guys decided to become chiropractors, what your sort of origin story was of what attracted you to become chiropractors?
Okay, I guess we'll go with the old guy first. So it's really bizarre. Everybody has their own story. My mother and father were at a hardware store and they ran into some friends they know and they asked about their son, and the son's was going to chiropractic school. So my mom, liked their story and asked me my senior year of college, would I like to be a chiropractor? And I literally just said, well, can I get into the school? And that was it. I went down there knowing nothing. Like the only time I ever saw a chiropractor was when my brother like body slammed me in the kitchen when I was 16. The guy adjusted me, didn't say a word about subluxation, innate intelligence, nothing. And when I got into school, I found all that out through assemblies, Pasquale, Bob Rabin. I even thought when Arno Bernier came down, because he was my sister's chiropractor, I went to assembly. He was supposed to be there. I was watching Bob Rabin. I thought it was Arno. And so I didn't know anything about philosophy, nothing. Found it all out in first quarter and just exploded with energy. I got 3 jobs. I worked at GNC, I worked at the school, and somewhere else, did a bodybuilding show, and it just changed my whole life. My whole life, I kind of uh, focused on the body with my father, teaching my brother and I how to lift. And then chiropractic was just the key to make it all natural. And that's probably the weirdest way anybody's ever been introduced to going to life. Because, in first quarter, everybody says why they're chiropractors. And that story had no match. Everybody else was like, "Oh, I got adjusted, and I felt so amazing." Wasn't the case for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
different with you.
I just love before Katie starts, if you could just touch on, this ignorance is bliss part of like going in as an open book, as a blank page, not with any preconceptions of chiropractic. Like, did that serve you well to enter into school with very little exposure and experience to chiropractic? I'm just curious how that was for you to show up with a lot less context than some of your peers.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I love going to, like, we just saw Top Gun, and I don't want to know anything about it when I go in there. I feel like it's the best experience. My mom told me, "Oh, Val Kilmer's in it." I was like, "Oh, I didn't want to know Iceman was in it." So I like yeah, it did serve me well because I had no clue what how amazing this profession is, and the mentors that I gained from it. I mean, Arno married us. He was you know the minister, quote unquote, of our wedding. We met at Masterpiece Training Camp. So I had no clue. Yeah, it did serve me well. I don't know if I would have known more, what would be the difference. Maybe I would have chosen a different technique. But yeah, I was wide open and happily shocked how amazing this profession vocation is.
Would you say that that's like a recommended sort of mindset to enter into school with if you're talking to a prospective student right now? Like, would you recommend that they just enter, even if they have a lot of experience and a lot of context, just recognize that they're going to have that context expanded when when they enter into a program, and that they should keep an open mind about it?
It's another great question. I would say with everything, and this is learning again at life. We had Tony Robbins come. A lot of my classmates in the class before us brought him in, and I got introduced to Alan Cohen. A lot of the mentors say follow your heart. So I would say, yeah, absolutely, that is recommended. Like you kind of, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no thank you in life. And open-minded is always good. I can't say I'm always there, but when I have been there and I follow my heart, it always works out. So yeah, I would recommend students, if they find something that inspires them, follow it.
Hmm.
And yeah, with chiropractic school and the training, sometimes it gets to be a little heady. You have to take medical terminology and stuff like that. But once you get in the philosophy, if that sparks something in you like it has us and everybody we have touched, you're going to be fine.
Hmm. Can we shift to Katie now? And Katie, you just kind of
No,
reflect on
no, I
your
want to
story,
talk
your
the whole time.
experience.
I want to talk the whole time.
So my intro was kind of similar. I mean, I had never been adjusted either. So I was in school. Um, I hurt my knee in high school. So I tore my ACL playing basketball, and I went to PT for that. So I was in school thinking I'm going to be a physical therapist. I'm going to help people get back into sports, and sports was my life. Like I wanted everything. Like my goal was to, you know, help people enjoy their experience, get back into sports, rehab, that sort of thing. Then my dad, like right before I went into physical therapy school, said, "Why don't you become a chiropractor?" There was a very well-known, still is, well-known chiro in Florida. He actually helped Sid open life. His name's Dr. Mike Nathanson. Great guy. He happened to be dating my aunt. So he's kind of an uncle, but, you know, not by blood. So he said, "Do what Dr. Mike does." And I was like, "Well, what does he do?" And he said, he's a chiropractor. Maybe you'll help people not get injured. And I was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense. You align the spine, possibly helping people not to be injured playing sports." And then I was pissed because I was like, "Well, why didn't you ever take me?" Right. So I ended up just applying to chiropractic school, going down there and hadn't, never been adjusted yet. And then the first class that I had was it Dr. Knudsen? Anyway, he was, yeah, he explained chiropractic in 30 seconds. He said, "You have the brain, you have your spinal cord. You want your brain to be able to communicate with your spinal cord like a light bulb. It sends messages down. You just want those pathways to be open and clear, and then your body works better." And it was like, wow, like it just hit me. Like, what have I been doing? I was raised in a very medical based type of family where if you have a headache, you take an aspirin. If you have a stomach ache, you take Pepto. I didn't understand the power of the body, and I would work out really, really hard all the time. I would always like go to the gym after soccer practice or after basketball, trying to get stronger. And I looked strong, but I never felt strong. And then when I got adjusted, it just like I felt strong. And that was like my intro, like, oh my gosh, like what could I have been like athletically?
I never realized how similar.
Right. So I was pissed off. I was like, man, like why? And now I always tell the kids who come in, I'm like, you're so lucky. You're so fortunate that your parents know to bring you in, especially the athletes. I'm like, you will be so much better off, as an athlete getting adjusted. So we have two boys, they're athletes. They're very in tune with their bodies. They ask to be adjusted all the time, and that's basically it. That was my intro. I still play soccer. I still love sports. So I think it took me on a path too that, like I always say, chiropractic is not really a job for us. It's a lifestyle. So I probably never would have had home births. I wouldn't be on the path that I'm on, at least with my family, how we raised them, had I not chosen chiropractic.
Hmm. Can you keep elaborating on how you raise your family, what the family dynamics and structure are as a chiropractic family?
Sure. I mean, we eat as organically as we possibly can. We have not vaccinated them. Um, we Instead of treating symptoms, we teach them to listen to their body. We try to get to the cause versus the fixing of symptoms. What else would you say? My home births, our home births, things like that. Just very organic.
Katie had our first. She was on her way to IKEA, and around 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was at the office, and she's like, "I think we got to go home." And she had a baby for like 5.5 hours later at home. I mean, that's it's understanding the philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic is understanding life principles. And we've taught the kids to listen to their body, like Katie said, and they never sub out in sports. And if they do, it's just to give the other kids a chance. They're always like full throttle, with their energy. And if they do have something happen, it's like a day. Uh, you know, COVID hit everybody in this region at Christmas time. And our one son had it for a day.
Country at Christmas time.
Well, it hit every, whole country, but definitely here. And it hit our one son for a day and our other son for like 2 days. No medicine.
He wanted to go snowboarding on the third day. So
yeah, just, vitamins, get adjusted, rest, the 5 principles of health.
I was more referencing when you mentioned lifestyle. I was more looking for like the freedom that you get to enjoy as a chiropractor, just to let prospective students know like what your life is like. You definitely mentioned like 90% of it, but also just like time to spend with your family, to spend with your kids. How many days a week do you work? Like, what's that schedule look like for a chiropractor?
So I love my schedule now, because when I first had them, I didn't work because I was breastfeeding, and you can't really adjust people when you're breastfeeding an infant on demand. I went back to work part-time a couple days when they were in school, and now I work 4 half days. So I work 3 mornings and then 1 evening, and the rest of the time I'm basically mom chauffeur for them. But it is great. I mean, he gets to see most of their soccer games and basketball games. I get to see pretty much all of them. So we do have a lot of freedom. And people always ask us, like, do you actually work? Because we vacation a lot. We're with them all the time. Whether they like it or not, we get to be with them, and we do have a lot of freedom to do that, which is really nice.
It's 3.5 days a week. So we're there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday afternoons. A lot of chiropractors do, Monday through Thursday. My brother does, and maybe a Saturday morning. It's, prospective students. So here's the thing: you find that this profession, has something here, like we said, and then all you really need once you graduate is a cell phone and know where you want to live. You hand out a bunch of cards of people with your cell phone. You have a table somewhere. You start adjusting them. Then all of a sudden, the hours kind of form. Like you find, like Peter and Patty Kevorkian, they'll open up at 6 in the morning, sometimes 5 in the morning, because they're in the Boston commute. So people need to be there and be at work by 8, right? So they're done. They've seen hundreds of people before 10 a.m. Whereas we open at 10 a.m. and we'll go like 10 to 1, let's say, and then 3 to 6. And we get a big rush, right at 10, a little bit before lunch. And then we'll get the obviously after work rush, and it's over. You can see new people before, after, or during. But 3.5 days is all you need as a chiropractor. And actually, now being in my 24th year and you're in your 20th year, I'm seeing people less and less. So you see people, frequency of taking care of people, 3 times a week, then twice a week, then once a week. And now it's just like we're so busy. Somebody's cool, I'm just seeing them, all right, see you at the end of the week, and then once a week. So all of that kind of changes as you go through your career as a chiropractor. But the beginning is definitely the most exciting. And I tell every student, because we have a lot of people that come from our office that go to chiropractic school, or anybody that we know, the most difficult decision is finding out where you want to live, because you can do chiropractic anywhere, literally anywhere, on the beach. Well, I remember when I was as a student, I would fly to like Masterpiece Training Camp. I went to 14 of them, and I would adjust flight attendants, and they'd sit me in first class. So I'm adjusting people in the air. You know, I'm not saying that's good or bad, but you know, it was great. You know, you can bring these anywhere to practice with your hands anywhere. You don't need, you know, all these tools. It's right here. And then obviously you can get the tools. You can, you know, do pierce with video fluoroscopy, or you can do, you know, Gonstead and really use the, what was that called?
Nervous scope.
Yeah, you know, or the DTG with pierce, whatever you want. But if you want to have the freedom to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, and serve well. I mean, somebody who refis mortgages can probably do that too, but what are they really doing? This is contributing to, and it's also very, very relevant now. We're busier than ever. People say, oh, COVID, you were slow, right? So no, we're twice as busy as we were before COVID, because people are realizing, you know, when the mass media is saying, hey, the answer's here, and you know, you need to get this to get through this. We're like, okay, you know, but we're going to build up our immune systems just in case. And it turns out, you know, that was the right method, you know, natural immunity and all these things. People are understanding that if their immune systems are healthy, they're less susceptible to no matter what comes across them. So that philosophy is the premise of chiropractic. You know, build the natural immunity of your body, and everything else will work out a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Can you reflect on your chiropractic school, like what you mentioned Masterpiece training seminars a couple times, like who'd you guys train with, what were you training on, like what skills were you building?
So we both went to Life. I went there and graduated in June '98. When I went there again, I was wide open, and I joined MoPal Club, which is motion palpation, learning really how to feel the spine, what you're supposed to feel. That's really an important club. Then I got into some technique clubs. My buddies were in CBP, and I was in Pierce, so we competed all the time. Those are two techniques of how to adjust the spine. There's actually, well, when I was in school, 250 techniques. But there's clubs at school you can go to for extra education. Then I mentioned Arnaud Bernier. He had a outside the school camp, and the premise was who you are as a person precedes who you are as a chiropractor. Masterpiece Training Camp. It was amazing. It was in '98 through like 2005. I think he did it for like 7, 8 years, and it was like,
That's how we met.
that's where we met, and it was like ropes courses. You know, IBM does this, AT&T, they take all their CEOs out to the woods or the mountains, and they do these drills to create trust and really show you, you know, what your fears are, and show dependency on friends, allowing dependency. But these extracurricular activities were really what formulated how we're going to practice chiropractic. The school we went to was Life University. Our oldest son is planning on going there in 2 years. That's our recommendation. Sherman is great. They're both fantastic schools. We're just preferring, you know, we both went to Life. So
We were just there actually for our front desk girl just graduated from there, which is nice.
yeah, single mom. She came into the office, young girl. She was a cashier, came in for whatever reason, and then she's learned that, oh, you do this for kids. And she had a child who was 1 year old, and he had like 12 ear infections in his first year of life, maybe 5. He was on antibiotics a ton, whatever it was. And his first adjustment, 1 year old, he hasn't had one since. And he's 17 now or 16. And she decided, you know, she worked for us. She ran our office, and she's like, I want to do this. And she just graduated. It was the most amazing. Single mom, 2 kids, you know, took her a little longer because she was working the whole time. Amazing story. So, by the way, that story can say there's nobody who can't do this. If she can do this
with two kids by herself,
from the family she came from and the
Right.
area she came from and the way she grew up on the streets, and now she's a doctor, chiropractic. She's in a very successful practice. She's going to associate with. She probably will open up her own someday. So anybody can do this, by the way. And that brings me to one memory. Right before I went to chiropractic school, not knowing anything, a little nervous, my brother-in-law, who's about 15 years older than me, said, "You're going to go down there. You're going to look around at the other kids in the class, and you're going to say, if they can do it, I can do it." That was great advice. Not in a superior way, just like oh yeah, everybody's kind of in the same boat. So,
well, he wasn't the best student.
oh, terrible student, horrible. But once I became back, like my first time I really got it, like I'm passionate about this, was gross anatomy. And I got an A in that class. I was so proud of it. And first time I ever really cared about studying and researching, and you see how amazing the human body is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was an awful student, but I think that's what kind of makes me a great chiropractor. It's you being clear on what you value and what you don't value, and just following your heart, as you said. Okay, cool. Can you bring us into your practice? Can you talk a little bit about the details of how you've designed the experience for people that come in to get checked? Maybe just like the way you design the clinic, or just how you work with people, anything like that.
Well, I'm going to let Katie answer that one because it's a wonderful process. But I want to say that the premise, the name, The Good Life, was really from the Masterpiece Training Camp. The model was the Cafe of Life, which was Arno's vision. And there's, probably 100 of them throughout the world, if not more, close to it. And the idea is that you're serving. It's all about service. And when I first heard it, I thought, so is there going to be coffee in the chiropractor? Are we doing like food too? He's like, no. People come in, and instead of a secretary, you have a maitre d'. And instead of making an appointment, it's a reservation. And they come in, they're greeted, they're seated at their table, they're served, and then they make a reservation for their next visit. So that's the baseline premise. And then Katie can get into more details.
Well, that's the thing that people love, I think, the most about our office is it's cozy. It doesn't feel like an office. We have each room, we have a sun room, we have a jungle room for the kids, we have a Zen room, we have themes, and then the waiting area is cozy. Not to say that we don't have, sorry, we have pre-course stretchers and we have massage and things like that, but the feeling that they get when they walk in is this is cozy, it's homey, it's inviting. It's not sterile, doctor-like, So I think that's a lot. That's what most people say when they walk in is they're like, wow, like it just feels good to be in here.
And that's really what you want. We all have those places too. You go somewhere and I'm just so glad I'm here. If that's not what the office is presenting, it's not a great start, right? So people start feeling better as soon as they walk in and they're greeted by Nikki or Trish or Tiffany, with this beautiful, hey, and they say their name and we have their name written on the chalkboard, like welcome. And immediately, as soon as they realize something different's going to happen, and healing already starts.
Mm-hmm.
We specialize in children.
Yep.
And
pregnant. Keep going, please. Yeah.
Infants.
So our specialty is pregnancy, infants, children, everybody, all ages. But we have a little corner of kids stuff, so they can come in and play right away. And my focus has always been. Initially, it was athletes, but then once I went to school and learned from the masters, Jeannie Ohm, Arno, I realized that that was what my focus was, and I'm in love with natural birth, So
Jeannie Ohm started the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, for
right.
those who want to know. And
There's a whole series of technique classes you can take, seminars you can take if you want to focus on that.
how to adjust infants,
Mm-hmm.
And Arno was big on that too. The first subluxation is the birth process. And you want to have a practice that's easy. Kids. I mean, we don't want easy, but it is, because you can have a practice that focuses on anything. You can have a geriatric practice. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, a lot higher decision making than somebody who's 90 years old versus somebody who's 9 days old. And we see that all the time. I mean, there's more baby seats in our office than seats sometimes. It's incredible. Families come in, families of 5, families of 4, families of 6. And you have to create that space too. We have a big sunroom with 2 tables in it, bunch of chairs, and if we have a big family waiting, we'll move somebody who was in the sunroom as a single and say, hey, can you go over to the Zen room? And then the family goes in there. I'll come in a little and do the mom and dad while Katie's doing all the kids.
Right. So we have 3 rooms. They're somewhat open. We just have a curtain. So I know a lot of people. Some people do open adjusting. Some people don't. That works for our flow.
When I first opened, I practiced about 4 years before we met. I had open adjusting. I actually did box on the wall. Up here in New Jersey, that was a big thing. I had some mentors, Joe D'Onofrio, Mark Olstein, Rusty Cooperstein, my buddy, and I. We did box on the wall, where people would just put a fee in the box for their family for the whole week, and you had no idea what they put in the box. And that changed after my best friend's wife kept hitting me up about, I'm a teacher, I have insurance. She didn't want to put anything in the box. Teachers are a little cheap, by the way. She didn't want to even put anything in the box, even though she could put whatever she wanted. She's like, take my insurance for years and years and years. And then, we started to, so that's part of the practice now. We've never been in network. We're out of network. So if somebody has insurance, what it became was a block. Like, oh, we don't take insurance because. So then we're like, all right, fine. What is this about? So now we have a part of the office that deals with that. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how people pay. You just want to see people, and you want to turn one person into a family. That's the key. Not for any other reason than it's good for them.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell some story or a story about Jeannie Ohm, because she's not with us anymore? Arno's been on here and told a lot of stories, so we have representation of him. But Jeannie Ohm or Pasquale, neither of them are with us, and they've been very impactful on just the minds and hearts of so many chiropractors. Can you kind of just let us know, maybe something that you personally experienced or what they represented to the profession, the contributions they made?
Pasquale Sarasoli, Brooklyn, New York. I mean, a pioneer. I think he went to jail for chiropractic. When he came down to speak to life, that's what my first impression, that's what I remember. It's like he was...
he does a really good impression, by the
way. Pasquale Sarasoli. He used to adjust people and then put his hand like backwards, walking away, and be like, $5. And they put $5 in his hand. You're talking about the 40s, 50s, 60s. A pillar in chiropractic that, if it wasn't for him, and there's another guy, I can't remember, not Reber, someone else who went to jail for chiropractic. I mean, there were lots of them. We wouldn't be able to practice there. And chiropractic has it's kind of like Christianity in a way. There's the evangelistic Christians, there's Catholicism, there's Methodists, right? So chiropractic has a lot of different philosophies in it. A lot of different ways to practice. There is one philosophy that above, down, inside out, your body heals. And when your spine's in alignment, it heals better. That's it. There's no other way. But some people do, like, sports medicine. Some people have medical doctors in the practice. Some people do absolutely no insurance, like we said, right? So Pasquale, if it wasn't for him, I think we'd be called medipractors. Like osteopaths were like chiropractors, and they got engulfed and then accepted that engulfment by the medical model. That's why they're doctors of osteopathy. You can't really tell the difference between an osteopath and a medical doctor. Chiropractic was very close to doing that, right? To being a medical doctor chiropractor, quote unquote, whatever the name would be. But Pasquale Sarasoli and these other people said, nope, we're going to hold the principle. We're not going to sell out. And there's still a Cell F Center, CELL/F center that he created. And they still have weekly meetings in Brooklyn, New York. And he was very prevalent at New Beginnings, which is the Northeast DE. You want to go to New Beginnings, you want to learn about chiropractic in a weekend. New Beginnings is the thing. DE is Dynamic Essentials, which Dr. Williams, the president of our school, the founder of our school, who's passed away, created. These are all philosophy weekends. So any prospective student could go to that. There's Lyceum at Sherman. But Pasquale, big influence on the Northeast and chiropractic. And then you mentioned Jeannie Ohm, one of Katie's mentors. I mean, whew. I mean, you basically have, before Katie talks about Jeannie, you have Dee Palmer, who founded chiropractic in 1895, right? Then you have his son, so that he's the founder. Then you have his son, BJ, the developer. Then from that, you have Reggie Gold, who basically created Sherman. Then you have Dr. Sid Williams, who created Life. And then obviously there's Palmer Chiropractic. Then you have Gonstead, all these people. I mean, Irene Gold. Jeannie Ohm's right up there. If there's a Mount Rushmore, she's up there. And why don't you tell them about her?
Well, after school was out was when I really got introduced to the pediatric part. I don't know that I went to too many pediatric seminars during school because, like I said, I was focused more on sports. And then once I realized I always wanted to be a mom, but once I became a mom, I realized I wanted to be more like Jeannie. So I went to all of her ICPA seminars.
Who also had 5 home births.
She had 6.
Maybe 6.
Yeah. So the fact that I had this person to basically emulate, like I saw how she gave birth. I read about her. I went to her seminars. Thankfully, they were close enough for us to drive to, once a month, and just getting to know her, getting to know all the people who were involved in that whole ICPA seminar process. There's lots of different avenues you can take with that, different focuses, different topics. All of the teachers were great. Like I was like, I said, I want to be the next Jeannie Ohm, I want to hold babies all day long. I want to work with pregnant women. I had 2 wonderful birthing experiences. I wanted people to be able to trust in their bodies like that. I mean, my home births were the most amazing thing. I mean, I was so proud of that. And a lot of women who go through the hospital procedures of birth don't get to experience that and don't understand like how powerful their bodies are, So that was it. I mean, she would get on the stage and she would dance. She was just so full of life, she was amazing. And I just thought, wow, I would love to do that. I would love to do what she does.
Before I even met Katie, I was doing the Power On presentations in the schools that Jeannie Ohm created, teaching kids how to turn their power on by getting their spine aligned. I mean, she just was a trailblazer, an innovator, and she's left a huge void in her passing.
Mm-hmm.
But that still continues. The ICPA has been run by her son, and it still continues.
That's when you line the kids up and then you put one kid out of position.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the Power On?
With the yellow ball. Yeah.
Okay.
They love it too, by the way. That's the career day thing. You line them up and then you subluxate them and you time the ball being passed around
Yeah,
and you adjust them, put them back.
those were good days.
My son still talks about it. You know, we would go to their classrooms and do that. They had a blast.
Mhm. Is there anywhere that we could learn about that more, or is that something that she created that kind of? I'm curious if they're still sharing that with people. I guess that
The
was just
power on,
something.
the power on presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably on the ICPA website. What is it? ICPA, the number 4.
Orkids.org or .com.
ICPA, the number 4 kids.org.
Right.
And the other website we mentioned earlier, cafeoflife.com. You want to see the original model of, my practice was one of the first ones, and I went with the Good Life because of the Tony Bennett song. I just loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate you sharing. I think that it's very valuable to expose people to your message early and often. Is there anything that you think that people should do before they go to chiropractic school to like really clarify within themselves that this is the right path? Because I'm sure you know people, or I'm sure you're aware that a lot of people go to chiropractic school for the wrong reasons, and then they either don't finish the program or they get out and they don't even practice. Um, I'm just curious if there's any strategy or way that you think we can minimize that, because there's a lot of pain in that for somebody who goes into a lot of debt and doesn't really love what it was that they thought they were signing up to do.
I don't know what the wrong reasons would be. I mean, I'll be totally honest. I went because actually I visited a chiropractor. He was a nice guy. And I said, so they should visit an office.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer.
Shadow.
Come to our office. Go to an office. See what it's like. If you go in an office, and this isn't a negative. This is just what I tell people when they are moving from our practice. I say, you go in an office and it looks like or smells like a hospital or a surgery center. I would just walk out and go to one that smells like patchouli and candles and because I know
oil.
Right, I know the people that we have like that. They're natural, right? If they're in our practice, they're natural.
Not everyone likes patchouli.
You know what I mean?
I love it.
And there's offices. Listen, we send a ton of people to a buddy that does a lot of decompression and TENS units. I was like, look, we just have these. He's awesome. I sent my parents there when they were jammed up with stuff that we were blocked. There is definitely value there, but I would say that you want to visit an office. So the guy talking about wrong reason to go to school, I probably went to school because of the lifestyle and the money. I went to visit my mom's chiropractor, and he's like, look, you want to do whenever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, go on vacation whenever you want, go to chiropractic school. I was like, oh, okay. So I don't necessarily think if you go for the wrong reason, you can't end up okay. But if you want to clarify and find that, look, to be inspired makes everything easier. When you're enthusiastic about something, like we were enthusiastic about this podcast this morning because we know you, Ben, and you're sharing and you're giving and you're helping people, right? But if this was somebody selling me, insurance or a car warranty, I'd be looking at the clock like, yeah, right. So go get inspired, go to an office and find what drives you, and they'll mentor you. That's the other thing about this. It's a family. Like, you reach out to us, what do you need? I mean, I can't tell you, but for me, if you needed something, I would find a way to either get it to you, Ben, personally, or find somebody to get it to you. Where are you anyway? Where are you? What part
I'm
of
in the Bay, Oakland, California.
Yeah. So I would get one of the Deiches to get something to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing. You join chiropractic, you join the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know people right in your area, Josh and Jason Deitch, You know, we know Arno in the Midwest. I know everybody on the East Coast, up and down Florida, New York, New Jersey, thousands of us who,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
thinking of moving to Florida within the next year, bringing my
who,
family out there. That should be an interesting transition. I'm not worried about it. It's just about getting settled, getting grounded, like you
what's
said, getting connected to the community down there.
which coast?
Right by Fort Lauderdale, I'm thinking Hollywood.
Done.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a big crew there. You're good.
Mhm.
I think that's Accurso. Joe Accurso is near there. Who Pillar? I mean, huge.
That's where Nathan's is.
And Mike Nathanson, her uncle, who you
He's-
mentioned that name at DE. It's like he created it.
Right.
Hmm.
So we'll get you set up.
Yeah, no, it's really funny kind of how this all works, but I'm over here trying to build a stronger and more connected profession by just highlighting so many different like different directions that people can go in and have there be representation of that and then put it all in one place so every student can come in and just become more aware of how amazing our profession is. And at the same time, my cousins started Kaiser College in the chiropractic medicine program down there. And it's just funny how life plays out as far as maybe I have to go down to Florida and get connected to that school of chiropractic medicine just so that I can because I have an in through my cousin who owns the school. But
Wow.
Anyway, it's wild.
Yeah, everything has its place, right? Everything has its place.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and just giving some pure, clear messages, and your energy and your time is always valued. So thank you, and yeah, let's keep it rocking.
Listen, if one person, so one last thing I want to say, a sheriff who knew my father very well used to see me around, and I was young and energetic and kind of ornery. He'd say, Sarnoff, look both ways when you cross the street. If you do it once, it was worth me telling you. If one person watches this podcast, right, and becomes a chiropractor because of it, it was worth it.
Mhm.